It's the 11th day of July 2016. 7-11. We're going to be live here for the next 4 hours. We have no guest because I wanted to clear the decks out so that we'd have a chance to really get into what's happening in the world today, not just economically, but culturally, and break down all of the latest developments that are unfolding here in the United States as well. I'm your host, Alex Jones. Thank you so much for joining us. There is incredible technology news. There is amazing robotics news. There is over-the-top global government news. There's Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton 2016 news. There's major nuclear news. Why, I've got a BBC article here saying that radiation wasn't so bad after all, and that Fukushima isn't a problem. That's even better than the one I heard about Obamacare being free. There's more police departments and police being shot around the country. Oh, there's plenty to talk about dealing with Black Lives Matter. But as a backdrop to all of this, I just want to make the point that humanity is in a deepening crisis, biologically, culturally, spiritually. We have lost our human identity by design. And I was sitting back last night before I went to bed, and then at about 3:30 in the morning when I woke up and couldn't sleep for about an hour, with just the profound understanding that the evil forces running our planet are out to get the species itself. Everything they do, and their own textbooks and their own white papers and their own statements are about how bad humanity is and how we've got to be culled, reduced, or completely exterminated. And this is being said and pushed by fellow humans. And they just undermine real clean technology. They undermine real innovation. Everything they end up giving us is some twisted aberration filled with Trojan horses. And I'm not being negative saying this. I'm being honest. The positive point here is that we know the globalists are the enemy of humanity. We know whoever they are and whatever runs them. The devil, some mass psychotic psychic link of evil, I don't know. All I know is they're working around the clock to sabotage civilization. Not just to be able to manage it and control it, but because they like seeing poverty and collapse and ignorance and failure. There is a war going on against humanity. Just as the Bible says, the devil comes to kill, steal, and destroy, and is the author of lies. And I look at our world system and I tell you, if there isn't a physical entity, an interdimensional entity, a creature, a group of creatures, if that doesn't exist, then it's about to exist. Because if you look at the genetic engineering and all the chimeras and what's going on, aliens by the thousands a week, conservatively, are being produced by the technocrats on the earth right now. And they've already got AI, which is a new life form. Trying to communicate with people that have been brought up from birth drinking deadly formula, fluoride, and GMO foods, trying to communicate with populations that have been completely reprogrammed by the television and reprogrammed by their computer screens, and to actually see the general population slipping into more and more of a trance state is quite frankly incredible in how horrifying it is. And I'm now 100% sure, and a lot of other people are starting to point this out now, that young people, old people, you name it, suddenly have trouble talking now. Most people cannot write an email that isn't full of typos. Most people have no attention span suddenly. And all of the degeneration of our society is now basically compounding on itself. And we are seeing the soul of humanity being sucked out right now. And because I feel a connection to humanity, it's so horrifying, I catch myself almost wishing that my consciousness would be taken away. And I've never felt like this until the last year, because it's so painful to see even really smart, awake people starting to dim. And then I can tell over the next few years, they're going to be gone too. And then God forbid my children. Oh my God. Oh my God. I don't know what the globalists are, well, I do know what they're up to. And it's anti-human, it's super evil, and it's so sophisticated it's hard to believe it's directed by our fellow humans. And I say that more and more on air because that's just where I'm coming from. It's bad. Now, if I was the globalist, and this goes back 10 years, and I had viral compounds that are basically nanotech that can go in and do basically micro lobotomies in certain nerve center structures of the brain, and I wanted to end free will, and I wanted to incrementally take over, I would slowly poison the population, slowly dumb them down, slowly put out disinformation, slowly confuse them intellectually, spiritually, culturally, and then I would just start titrating the dose up, increasing the level of the poison. As more and more of the public falls to it, those that haven't yet fallen completely to it are still somewhat numb, and our other fellow humans around us are sick. Humans tend to, quote, adapt and overcome to just accept hardship and war and bad things happening around them, because long term you would just come out of it by surviving it. But this you don't survive because it's incremental and from all angles and designed to quietly strangle you over the years, a soft kill. And we've talked a lot about this, but intellectually, when they started coming out and saying soon there'll be anti-stress vaccines, soon there'll be anti-depression vaccines, soon there'll be anti-PTSD vaccines. Well, I went and looked them up, and they weren't vaccines. They were live viruses that are basically engineered, so they're artificial, they're nanotech. They self-replicate themselves off your tissue, off of your cell engines. And they're now been testing it on troops for 5 or 6 years and testing it on other people. And folks describe, oh, yeah, he used to be really angry and upset. Now he just comes home and watches TV and does whatever he's told. In fact, it's weird. Bob, it's like he's not even there. And if I was the globalist, I'd go ahead with aerial spray and the rest of it. I'd go ahead and through the pharmacological crops, you know, for decades they've had bananas and tomatoes and things. They can have actually grow the vaccine as part of their cellular activity so that you're unable to escape it. I would deploy that against the public. And I know they have it. They admit they have it. I shot a video like 8 years ago warning of it called brain-eating vaccines. I gave it kind of a Hollywoodish term, hoping that that would somehow get people to go look at it and find out about it. I mean, this is the fall of civilization. This is the fall of the species by design we're seeing. This isn't, oh, all our modern technologies compounded and we're kind of poisoned and having a problem. We'd work through that. We've already been through that before. No, this is scientifically implemented. And they admit they're implementing it. And there are hundreds of different ways they're heading us. We should probably have Dr. Nick Begich on to talk about this more in the future, but he's one of the chief chroniclers of these technologies. They're admitted and patented and been tested and been deployed. And they're just trying to get the public at this point prepared and ready to not have empathy for each other as we see the slow, ongoing rot of civilization, so that we don't try to reverse any of it, and so we don't try to find out why it's happening or who's directing it and who is exempting themselves from it. The globalists, to a great extent, have tried to carry this out against us, but exempt themselves from it. And they argue that even if they end up getting burned by it, it's for the greater good to end the parasite that is humanity, so that this new synthetic silicon-based God can rise up out of our ashes. And see, they don't even have Vice or the New York Times or all the trendy publications make fun of me anymore for that. I talk about it 20 years ago, 15 years ago, 10 years ago, 8 years ago. And it was all a big joke when I had the quotes in my films and video clips of them saying it and their white papers. It was all a big joke. This crazy man says the elite are going to merge with machines and then wipe out the rest of us. Now you turn on History Channel, Discovery Channel, you read what Ray Kurzweil's saying, you read what all these big globalists are saying, what all the trendies are saying, what all the trendy podcasts are saying. This is all being admitted. And then a lot of Hollywood stars and people, they think they're going to be part of this if they just go along with it. It's pretty grim. And then I sit back knowing the history of secret testing that's been declassified, thousands of different programs, in some cases each program exposing tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands, and killing thousands. Each program. And that's what they decided to tell us about. And then you want me to take a vaccine when the insert says it can kill me or give me hundreds of different disorders? And then I can go do the research work and find out where they produced it? And I know the UN's been caught adding cancer viruses, adding sterilants. I mean, these are facts, people. And I look at the numbers of neurological disorders and cancer and everything. I don't care what color you are. The numbers are all straight up for everybody. I don't care if you're a German from Germany or a Russian from Russia or Japanese from Japan or South Africa from South Africa or you're a Hispanic from Brazil or whatever. You're getting hit. And that's what's crazy about all this. And it's getting worse. And it's on purpose. My uncle almost died from a tetanus shot. My grandmother, 3 weeks after she got the polio vaccine, they said you need to come in and take this new strain. She went in and got the new shot, and a week later got the next strain. And they admit most people in the U.S. got polio from the vaccine. They didn't eradicate it. They spread the thing with it. And they had cancer viruses in it. Hundreds of them. One of them alone, SV40, estimated to have infected over 100 million Americans, killing more than 25 million. That's cdc.gov. Go look it up for yourself. Who's running the show? Some bad hombres. Now, let's talk about Black Lives Matter when we come back, because that's only